Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH the Flame Emperor episode number 177 based on novel. So let's start. A person from the dragon-loving legion? Xiao Yan took Mu Yingying slightly to a distance of several hundred meters away from the 10 people of the dragon-loving legion, and then Mu Yingying opened her mouth slightly, her voice full of surprise. Hush hush hush. Xiao Yan made a low-pitched gesture towards Mu Yingying, and then his eyes fixed on the people in front of him. Among the 10 people, 3 were in a coma. What's going on? The dragon-loving legion is the most powerful army of the Xianling royal family. How could it be here? Mu Yingying's eyes turned slightly, thinking quickly. Yingying, take a closer look. Who are the comatose people? Xiao Yang said. Xuanmo. The 3 comatose people. Mu Yingying only knew Xuanmo. This mysterious demon was the one who stopped them when they went to soak in the Xianling Emperor Pond. If Mu Yingying hadn't activated the holy flame in the end, I am afraid that both Xiao Yang and Mu Yingying would have fallen into his hands. This mysterious demon, if there is a chance, will definitely let him die without a burial place. Xiao Yang said with a gloomy gaze. Xiao Yang is not a saint. The current strength of this mysterious demon is still the same as before. Xiao Yang was really unable to deal with it at the beginning, but at this time, he was barely able to cope. Xiao Yang is confident and gives himself some time. Kill this guy. What are they doing here? Mu Yingying naturally agreed with Xiao Yang's approach. After all, she also hated this mysterious demon very much. This place is very close to the Jiayue ruins, although I'm not sure, but I think these guys should be related to Do Soul. Xiao Yang said. Fighting soul? Mu Yingying heard the words. Obviously she didn't know why Xiao Yang felt the information of fighting soul. Don't get me wrong, he told me when he helped Tianwang Ginseng evolve. Xiao Yang explained. I don't know where that guy from Tianwangshan went. Mu Yingying seemed to remember that Tianshan entered the depths of the palace with them, but disappeared. He came to the human world a long time ago, and he doesn't know where he went. Xiao Yang said with a smile. Be careful, they are moving. Seeing this, Xiao Yang couldn't help but speak, but following Xiao Yang's opening, the few members of the dragon-loving army who were hiding in front of him became restless. Not good. The head of the regiment can't hold back the fighting spirit. Yi Mo was the first to notice that Qin Tian's complexion was extremely ugly, and then he spoke slowly. Shoot. Yi Mo said directly, and after speaking, the remaining few people directly activated the dazzling power of life and death and poured them into Qin Tian's body. And as Qin Tian captured the fighting spirit and did not return to the Xianling royal family, the Xianling king also discovered that something was wrong. Strange, didn't this old guy Qin Tian use the things I gave him to subdue the fighting spirit? King Xianling couldn't help but speak. He could sense the aura of the ruins being closed, but Qin Tian showed no sign of coming back at this time, which made King Xianling feel uneasy. Xianming. The next moment, King Xianling closed his pupils and called out to Xianming in his heart. Xianming, Xianmo, and Xianwanxin were all the eyesight that Xianling King placed in the dragon-loving army to stare at Qin Tian, so at this time Xianling King contacted the 3 of them and wanted to know the situation. No movement. King Xuanling's face was ugly, the connection between himself and the 3 was some secret method, and he never made a mistake. How could it be? Damn Qin Tian, if Do Soul suffers any loss, this king will definitely kill you. King Xianling couldn't help but said angrily. He, King Xianling. When I was in the ruins, I did sense the presence of Qin Tian's aura, and the aura of Do Soul was also in Qin Tian's hands. I'm afraid your plan will fail. He smiled slightly. Take care of yourself. King Xianling was angry, and then stopped talking. He knew that Qin Tian's ambitions were not small, but even if he had 100 courage, he might not be able to forcibly devour the fighting spirit. Before the strength reaches Do Xian to devour Do Soul, it will be 10 deaths and no life. Boom boom boom. On the other side, Qin Tian's internal condition was indeed not very good. In the ruins, Qin Tian immediately swallowed the fighting spirit in order not to let the fighting spirit escape. But it is said to be swallowed raw, but it is not. This is one of Qin Tian's fighting skills, but he keeps the fighting spirit inside his body. Qin Tian wanted to find a place to devour and refine the fighting spirit after he came out. After all, if he devoured the fighting spirit, he could truly step into the fighting fairy. But Qin Tian didn't know that the fighting spirit can only be swallowed by the strong fighting immortals, so he underestimated the power of the fighting spirit. Undead Mingqiu, surrender to me. In a huge space within Qin Tian's body, Qin Tian's figure slowly appeared. But in front of Qin Tian, an undead ghost who was bound by 5 black and white life and death ***** was disdainful. Submit to you. Dream. With the strength of this soul, it is impossible for me to surrender to an old man who is at the peak of Do Di. Undead Mingqiu snorted coldly, obviously not taking Qin Tian's strength into consideration. After all, after leaving the ruins, his strength is no longer suppressed. He is a genuine Do Xian strong. Although the Do Di peak is strong, it is still too weak for the undead Mingqiu. Then don't blame me. Qin Tian's soul force said something, and then his eyes became fierce. Yep. Thank you for taking me out of the ruins, otherwise, with my strength, it would be too expensive to get out of the ruins. So, in return, how about letting me devour you? The next moment, the huge body of the undead Mingqiu gradually turned into a man in a red robe. On the man, the restraint of the 5 black and white life and death still exists, but the undead ghost is not at all unhappy. Ha ha ha. Then try it. Qin Tian snorted coldly, and then he was ready to fight. But what Qin Tian didn't expect was that the undead sparrow actually used their power to escape the ruins. Your restraint seems to be too weak. The human body of the undead Mingqiu trembled slightly, and then the 5 seemingly powerful of life and death said they were broken. Fart. He felt the bottomless strength of the undead might sparrow, plus his own was broken. Qin Tian gushed out a mouthful of blood. This is actually so strong. Qin Tian said slightly, and then his eyes became distracted. Go ahead. Don't move Ming King Qin Tian, otherwise your Do Di peak strength will not have any power in my hands to fight back. On the face of the immortal Mingqiu, a burst of absolute pride appeared, and she randomly arrogantly faced Qin Tian. Said. This guy is too strong. I'm afraid I can't deal with him by myself, and this is my body. If I fight here, I'm afraid it will cause extremely incurable damage to me. Let's go out. Qin Tian thought about it, and immediately opened his pupils. Spit it out, and at that time, the undead ghost in red robes appeared directly in front of everyone in the dragon-loving legion. The human world is still wonderful. You guys, let's go together. Hongpao undead Mingqiu pointed at the crowd slightly with his finger, and said lightly, showing his domineering no doubt. Ridiculous. Don't be mad. The pride of the undead man in the red robe in front of him, the other 6 dragon-loving legion powerhouses invariably questioned. However, the 6 people were extremely vigilant about this undead ghost. After all, its strength is too tyrannical. Captain, are you all right? Yimo gently supported Qin Tian and then spoke. I'm fine, I just underestimated the strength and endurance of this beast. Qin Tian said, obviously he didn't expect this undead sparrow's wisdom to be so high, and escaped from the ruins with their strength. At this time, the undead Mingqiu was not in a hurry, and slowly played the game of cat and eagle with the people of the dragon-loving legion. It really is a fighting spirit. Seeing this, Xiao Yan couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Doxian's strength. It's too strong. Mu Yingying's voice was full of vigilance, and she just used the power of holy flame in the ruins of Bright Moon. I'm afraid she won't be able to use it in a short time, otherwise there will be some unimaginable things. Disaster. Don't worry, Kang Yu handed me some things before he left, and I have the confidence to subdue this fighting spirit. Facing Mu Yingying's worry, Xiao Yang smiled quietly. Be careful. Mu Yingying still said. They are going to fight, we will wait and see what happens. After Xiao Yang finished speaking, the dazzling soul power all over his body concealed the aura of the 2 of them. Yimo, form a formation, Qin Tian said, and then he didn't hesitate. He knew that the strength of this immortal ghost bird was too tyrannical. I am afraid that only the dragon-loving formation is useful. Otherwise, with the strength of these people, I am afraid it's just a mantra. Everyone, form an array. Yimo heard the words, and naturally knew Qin Tian's intentions, but the other members of the dragon-loving army also agreed with Qin Tian's approach. After all, they can achieve such achievements, but Qin Tian is indispensable as help. The next moment, except for the comatose 3 and Qin Tian, the dazzling power of life and death of the other 6 members of the Dragon Addiction Legion suddenly emerged, and then a huge formation was formed in this extremely hidden place, killing the undead ghost. Trapped, in the formation, a lifelike dazzling dragon slowly came into being. On the dragon, an indescribable terrifying aura instantly appeared. It's a good formation, but for me, it's not enough. Undead Mingqiu shook his head and said. Undead underworld sparrow, look at the trick. Yimo was the core of the formation, controlling the huge dazzling dragon to whiz away at the undead underworld sparrow. Boom boom boom. The dazzling dragon just touched the undead underworld bird, but the undead underworld bird did not react at all, but a fiery red flame appeared on its red robe body, and immediately wrapped around the bright light. Dragon. Bastard. At this time, with the power of the 6 people, the power of the dragon addiction formation was greatly reduced, but this was something that could not be done. After all, Qin Tian had to prepare to absorb the fighting spirit, so he definitely couldn't take action. Soul attack. The next moment, Yoroxinbei, who was behind Yi Mo in the dragon addiction formation, bit his lip, and a dazzling soul force attacked the undead ghost. With a sound, the fiery red flames on the undead mink's body instantly extinguished, and the dazzling dragon also slammed into the undead mink's body. The undead Mingqiu apparently did not see the attack of the human soul, and was immediately caught off guard. Despicable humans. A trace of blood appeared on the corner of the undead mink's mouth, and then stared at the few people in front of him with resentment. Immortal Mink's power at this time has already reached a star fighting immortal, but thousands of years of loneliness have made him lose his defense against humans, so naturally he didn't think of human attacks. Soul attacks are hard to guard against. After all, not everyone has powerful soul power. Dragon-loving, attack. Seeing the effect of the medicine core attack, Yi Mo didn't hesitate, he suddenly controlled the power in the formation, condensed into a giant dragon, and then directly hit the body of the undead ghost. It's almost there. Seeing this, Qin Tian on the side said. The next moment, Qin Tian slowly took out a rather exquisite medicinal pill from his hand, and then swallowed it directly into his mouth. At that time, Qin Tian's aura actually skyrocketed, and in a short time, he reached the level of a half-immortal. Damn, this Qin Tian is so willing. Seeing this, Xiao Yan couldn't help cursing. What's wrong? Mu Yingying seemed rather puzzled when she heard the words. Qin Tian's aura has skyrocketed from the peak of Do Di to the level of a half-immortal. It should be related to the medicinal pill he just took. The gap between Do Di's peak and Banxian is very different. This medicinal pill can temporarily make Qin Tian reach Banxian. I'm afraid it will be expensive. Qin Tian really wants to conquer Do Soul. Xiao Yang said. Oh, is it an elixir to increase strength? Although the undead Mingjie suffered some damage from the attack of the cause soul, it was still fighting immortals, so Yi Mo and the others' attacks naturally had no effect on it. In this way, after Qin Tian swallowed the pill, his strength skyrocketed, and the undead Mingqiu was naturally vigilant. Although the human world only has the suppression of the fairy moon, the strength of the undead ghost has reached the level of a star-fighting fairy, but the undead ghost has just come out and has not yet adapted to human strength, so the combat power is naturally greatly reduced. The value of this thing is too expensive. If it weren't for your existence, I would not have used it rashly. Qin Tian's breath has reached the level of a half-immortal with the increase of the medicinal pill, so he said to the undead Mingqiu. Old Qin Tian, I have to say that you are very strong, but that's the end of it. Although this soul can't beat you, but I want to leave, I'm afraid no one can keep me. Undead Mingqiu said a little, obviously retirement was born. After all, the undead Mingqiu also knows that there is no need to fight with these people for life and death. The price, I have already paid. Then it's time to give back to me. Undead Mingqiu, today, you can't run. After Qin Tian finished speaking, 5 black and white light flashing with the power of black and white life and death appeared in an instant, and with the appearance of this thing, the undead ghost clearly felt a dangerous aura. It's really an annoying fly. After the undead Mingqiu finished speaking, fiery red flames flickered all over his body. He knew that he could only leave after defeating Qin Tian himself. Qin Tian and his group were in the dragon addiction formation, and then Qin Tian was not afraid of being discovered by others. The moment he made a move, it was a huge killer move. The hand of life and death. Qin Tian shouted abruptly, and immediately above his palm, he was surrounded by 5 black and white of life and death, and above that palm, a power that made the world unknown and bleak slowly spread out. The dead hand of life and death. After Qin Tian's skyrocketing strength, the half-immortal's strength suddenly became extremely ugly. Is it such a terrifying attack at the first shot? Seeing the increasingly bright attack on Qin Tian's palm, the undead Mingqiu was not scornful, and slowly condensed the flames all over his body in his hand, a burst of fire that was also not lost to Qin Tian. Horror fluctuations were born in an instant. Undead Mingqiu, die for me. After a while, Qin Tian felt that his attack was ready, and without hesitation, he raised his palm and slammed into the immortal Mingqiu. Fall for me. The undead Mingqiu was equally rude, and the palm attack instantly threw it out, and then 2 terrifying forces touched together. Boom boom boom. The terrifying ripples that were enough to destroy any strong man continued to spread. Good guy, you actually forced out the leader's Hola rank fighting skills. This Hola level fighting skill, the head of the team used it to kill a real half-immortal powerhouse. Looking at the terrifying attack in the sky, Yimo couldn't help saying, the attack of that undead ghost can't be underestimated. Although his flames are not holy flames, the fighting spirit related to holy flames, this guy is not simple. Yaroshin said the same thing. Happy. Qin Tian also knew that it was obviously impossible to kill the undead Mingqiu with such a single blow, but before the attack in the sky had completely fallen, Qin Tian's figure immediately exploded and attacked the undying Mingqiu. Sparrow feather. Facing Qin Tian's arrival, the undead Mingqiu seemed to have been prepared for a long time, and immediately turned its feathers into deadly attacks and pushed them out. Bang bang bang. The bird feathers of the immortal dwarf bird are like shooting stars, blocking all the retreat paths for Qin Tian's advance. That's the case, that Qin Tian forcibly used the 5 black and white of life and death around his body to intercept the attack of the undead ghost. Forget it, since I've left the ruins now, I'd better go, otherwise I'll be subdued by this Qin Tian. Undead Mingqiu thought to himself. After thinking about it, Immortal Nether Sparrow's figure exploded, obviously wanting to launch some powerful attacks and escape with the help of intermittent attack. This beast, want to run? Qin Tian knew at first sight when he saw the weakened attack of the undead Mingqiu. Eat me. 5 flavors of life and death balls. In the face of the undead mink's desire to escape, Qin Tian naturally knew that, and immediately came to the undead mink's side. The 5 life and death on his body instantly detached from him, and hit the body of the undead Mingqiu. Grumbling. A scream of screams continued to emanate from the red-robed undead bird. And the arm of the immortal ghost was filled with a rotten aura because it blocked Qin Tian's 5 life and death balls. Asshole. You are courting death. The immortal Mingqiu heard the words and was instantly shocked, but before the immortal Mingqiu could react, Qin Tian slapped it with the palm of his hand. The bird was slightly surprised. After receiving 2 heavy blows in succession, the body of the undead ghost was full of large and small scars, and the breath became sluggish. Obviously, Qin Tian Banqian's power of life and death had caused the undead ghost. Not a small injury. Undying fire. Finally, undying Mingqiu couldn't bear it anymore. He knew that if this continued, failure would be a matter of time, so a mouthful of bright red blood spewed out from the corner of his mouth, and the bright red blood was purified and evolved into a trace of grey flame. The grey flame has no masters. It was just born from the blood, and it is like a child after waking up from a deep sleep, looking for targets everywhere. Go. But the next moment, the undead Mingqiu directly controlled the grey undead fire to attack Qin Tian. Holy flame! How is that possible? Qin Tian saw the traces of grey flames, and immediately felt an unprecedented fear. Qin Tian has the holy flame in his body, so he is extremely sensitive to the holy flame. The grey flame in front of him is one of the holy flames. Boom boom boom! The grey flame attacked Qin Tian. Although the grey flame was only 1 meter in size, the space collapsed wherever it passed. Join us. At this moment, Qin Tian didn't dare to be arrogant anymore, and said a few words directly to the people behind him. Yimo and the others heard the words and knew the seriousness of this matter, so they directly controlled the dragon addiction formation, trying to destroy the grey holy flame. Old man Qin Tian, next time we meet, I will kill you. Undead Mingqiu watched Qin Tian's people busy dealing with the power of the grey holy flame, and immediately disappeared into the dragon-thirsty formation with a flash. It's just that the undead ghost bird didn't find it. When he just disappeared, 2 figures also followed behind him. This cunning beast. Seeing this, Qin Tian couldn't help cursing. Captain, let's settle this thing first. Although this thing isn't a real holy flame, it's not to be underestimated for us. After Yimo finished speaking, everyone joined forces to fight against this grey holy flame. However, Qin Tian knew that this fighting spirit had indeed escaped from his hands. When he thought of the duck flying like this, Qin Tian's face became weird. At this time, the undead ghost bird had already shifted its position and came to a large mountain in the wild land. It was overgrown with trees and weeds. It was obviously a desolate place. I can't use the little fire of life and death that I have left, otherwise I won't be able to find it in the future through the source of the fire of life and death in my body. Undead Mingqiu coughed violently and said wei wei. The one born from the blood just now is indeed the fire of life and death, but to be honest, at best, it can only be regarded as the child fire with the fire of life and death, the real fire of life and death. But what do immortals are afraid of? Dodi Strong is afraid to touch the slightest, and it will be wiped out. This Qin Tian, this time the injury is so serious, it seems that he needs to take good care of himself. The immortal Mingqiu finished slowly, and sat down cross-legged, ready to adjust his breath. Who is it? Get out. Just when the undead Might Sparrow was about to adjust his breath, he suddenly felt that there was something behind the rock in front of him. The next moment, a black robe slowly walked out from behind the rock, and then appeared in front of the undead ghost. Undead Mingqiu, you really can't find a place to step through the iron shoes. The black-robed man walked out slightly, clapping his palms, and his voice was full of laughter. A person from the ghost world? The undead Mingqiu snorted coldly when he saw this, but he felt an extremely eerie aura from the black-robed man in front of him. The evil people outside the realm are extremely evil, while the ghost world is eerie. Hand over your fighting spirit power. The black-robed man slightly took off a heavy ruler behind his back, and then said to the undead Mingqiu, "This guy has such a mysterious aura, and even I can't feel his strength. This time, I'm in trouble." Immortal Mingqiu forced the pain in his body to suppress the pain, staring at the black-robed man in front of him. At this time, the heavy ruler in the hands of the black-robed man exudes an even more sinister aura. Damn, it's really bad luck. Seeing this, Immortal Mingqiu said bitterly in his heart. The undead Mingqiu is the power of the fighting soul. If the undying Mingqiu is made to hand over the power of the fighting soul, it will undoubtedly devour him, which makes him, who has always been arrogant, a little uncomfortable. However, in front of the guy in the ghost world with unknown strength, the undead Mingqiu is vigilant. The mysterious person is naturally Xiao Yang. Originally, although Xiao Yang had something given by Kang Qi, he was confident that he could seal the undead ghost, but before he wanted to seal it, it would be difficult to conquer. However, when Xiao Yang and Mu Yingying came here with the undead Mingqiu, Xiao Yang found that the undead Mingqiu was seriously injured, and Mu Yingying was also very responsible, directly guarding the periphery of this wild land to prevent other people enter. When Xiao Yang first appeared, he didn't know why the soul-devouring talisman in the acceptance ring poured out directly. Immediately, spooky ghosts emerged from the soul-devouring talisman. It didn't have any effect on Xiao Yang, and only then did Xiao Yang pretend to be a mysterious person. Soul Eater Talisman, you have absorbed so much power, it's time to do something. After listening to this sentence, the Lord of Soul Eater was directly kicked by the Golden Dragon King to the cashier ring, which made Xiao Yang incarnate as a disguised ghost. The appearance of people in the world. Fighting, it's a big deal, both sides will suffer. If you want to let my fighting spirit with dignified fighting power be swallowed up, just think about it. Immortal Mingqiu said proudly. Seventh layer breaking the sky ruler. The fifth foot, the prisoner's ruler. The next moment, Xiao Yang used the ghostly energy that emerged from the Soul Eater talisman to directly display the fifth foot of the seventh-layered sky-shattering ruler. Seventh level breaking the sky ruler. According to Xiao Yang's current situation, there is no problem in cultivating to the fifth foot, and Xiao Yang is confident that the seventh level breaking the sky ruler is 7 feet great. I am afraid that he can have a fight without stepping into the 9th rank Do Di. Power. Boom boom boom. As soon as Xiao Yang attacked, the immortal Nether Sparrow's body was immediately enveloped by an extremely bright ghostly aura. RRR. Facing the eerie ghost Qi, the undead Nether Sparrow shouted, trying to use the power of flame to dissolve it, but the next moment, the flame touched the black ghost Qi, but it had no effect. That ghost Qi was still transformed into a huge black Qi cage, trapping the undead ghost bird firmly. Cunning human beings. Facing Xiao Yang's elusive spirit, the immortal Mingqiu was beaten without any temper, and could only resent it. Give up the struggle, you can't crack this thing. Xiao Yang said with a smile. Joke, this ghostly energy is caused by the Soul Eater talisman. Although Xiao Yang doesn't know how powerful the Soul Eater talisman is, how can he be ordinary if he can rank among the 12 evil soldiers in the ghost realm? Humph. Although I'm bound by you, but I look at your aura, I don't think you have the strength to fight immortals, right? The fighting spirit can only be swallowed by the strong fighting immortals. You don't have the strength of fighting immortals, how can you devour me? Ha ha ha. Although the undead Mingqiu had nowhere to go, he laughed at this time. Ha ha, that's not necessarily true. Xiao Yang had long expected that the undead Mingqiu would have such a move, and said with a smile. What do you think this is? After a while, Xiao Yang took out a mysterious object directly from his arms. How can it be? How could this thing be in your hands? When he saw the mysterious thing in Xiao Yang's hand, the pride of the undead ghost suddenly died and became extremely shocked. What caught the eyes of the immortal ghost was Xiao Yang's hand, a piece of paper the size of a fist, but with a silver light all over it. This thing. Kang Ki gave it to me. Xiao Yang also knew that the relationship between the undead Ming Sparrow and Kang Ki in front of him seemed to be quite unusual, which could be seen from the fighting spirit alone leading away other strong men. Kang Ki gave it to you? Where's Kang Ki? Immortal Mingqiu asked immediately after hearing this. I helped her solve the ghost twins, so she left. Should be looking for something, Xiao Yang said. Are you helping her solve the Netherworld twins? Impossible. What can't be solved by Tsangyao's dignified fighting power? How can you be a strong person who is not even a fighting fairy, said undead Mingqiu. Is this enough? Xiao Yang was too lazy to talk nonsense with Dosol, so he directly summoned his fire heart Qianyang sacred flame. With the appearance of the holy flame and the silver piece of paper, the undead mighty sparrow shut up slightly. He's really jealous of Inksai. I'm willing to follow you. The undead Mingqiu seemed to have thought about it, and said to Xiao Yang. This guy won't lie to me. Xiao Yang was equally surprised. Okay, boy, I was originally raised by Fairy Jiaoyue and Kang Ki. If Kang Ki didn't help me back then, I'm afraid I would no longer exist now, so since you are identified by Kang Ki, then I will not die. Mingqiu will agree with her this time, said the immortal Mingqiu. Agree. Xiao Yang was confused by these words, but he didn't bother to care. Take your black robe, let me see if your strength and attributes are suitable for mine. Although only the Dozian powerhouse can devour the Dosol, the Do-Di Peak powerhouse can also give it a try. Undead Mingqiu said quite enthusiastically. Hee hee. Hearing this, Xiao Yang smiled awkwardly, then took the black robe away to reveal his face. So young. Seeing Xiao Yang's extremely youthful appearance, the undead Mingqiu was surprised. 6-star Do-Di is complete. The next moment, after feeling Xiao Yang's exact strength, the immortal bird's head was full of black lines. What the hell, your 6-star Do-Di's perfect strength, how did you get the holy flame, and how did you get the approval of Kang Ki? Undead Mingqiu said in a very puzzled way. Senior, I too very helpless. Xiao Yang frowned, he could feel that if he could absorb this fighting spirit, he might have a qualitative leap in his strength. No, 6-star Do-Di's perfect strength is too dangerous. You can't absorb my power, or you will explode in an instant. Undead Mingqiu shook her head and said. Then what should we do now? Xiao Yang asked after hearing this. Isn't there that piece of paper? This is Kang Ki's token, and it is also a sealing force. It can temporarily seal me in your body, and when you are strong enough in the future, it will absorb my power. The undead Mingqiu said. Since that's the case, let's get started. Xiao Yang said directly without hesitation. This process may be a little difficult. If you can't bear it, I'm afraid you will fail. When that time comes, you. Undead Mingqiu said worriedly. Don't worry, I can bear it. Xiao Yang said confidently. Begin. After the undead Mingqiu finished speaking, Xiao Yang scattered the prisoner straight away. The undead Mingqiu had no other meaning and came directly to Xiao Yang. At this moment, the soul-devouring talisman in Xiao Yang's body, it was also taken back directly by Xiao Yang. Undead Mingqiu, this kid is strong enough in the future, I'm afraid he might try Undying Fire. If he gets the Immortality Fire, it will have a lot of benefits for him. The Golden Dragon King was in the ring and looked at Xiao Yang with joy, but the Golden Dragon King also knew that it would not be long before he would be able to the day you start. What should I do? Xiao Yang asked weakly. After all, the immortal ghost in front of him is a genuine fighting immortal powerhouse. Our fighting spirits have too many attributes and forms, but they are almost transformed by power. Although I am a human now, at best, I can only be regarded as an energy body with huge energy. When swallowed by you, it will become part of your power. And your strength has reached a certain level in the future. After swallowing me, you will inherit some of my strength attributes. This is also a part of our fighting spirit. Undead Mingqiu said. As for you, it seems that now, I can only seal my power in your vindictive sea. Undead Mingqiu thought for a while and then said. What a sea of fighting chi. Xiao Yang nodded slightly when he heard the words. At this time, there were already quite a few creatures in Xiao Yang's Do-Chi Sea. If the Holy Flame Crystal, which holds the source of Holy Flame, and the Flaming Beast that compresses Xiao Yang's fighting spirit, are joining a vicious fighting spirit, I am afraid. Get ready. Start when you're ready. Sealing the fighting spirit is no better than swallowing the fighting spirit, it won't take you long, but the ordeal during the period, even if it is me. Undead Ming said here, and suddenly stopped. Obviously Xiao Yang wanted to rely on the 6-star fighting emperor to achieve success sealing the power of the fighting soul. I am afraid it will suffer a lot. Don't worry, I, Xiao Yang, have never been afraid. Xiao Yang said with a smile. Okay. Immortal Minkyu heard the words. After the seal, my mind will fall into a deep sleep, and I will wake up when you devour the fighting soul in the future, and during the seal period, you have to be careful, otherwise others will find that you have the holy flame sealed on your body, and it is very likely that you will be caught. The person will take it out by caesarean section. The undead Minkyu said solemnly. Yes. Xiao Yang naturally knew the good intentions of Do Soul, and Xiao Yang was also stupid enough to show off to others. However, according to the words of the immortal Minkyu, Xiao Yang knew it. Once this fighting spirit is sealed, I am afraid that under the premise that his strength reaches the end, he will not be able to use the power of the fighting spirit. However, Xiao Yang was not dissatisfied with this. After all, this fighting spirit was very suitable for Xiao Yang. Now that it is sealed in the body, it will be saved in the future to find it. Introduce that mysterious piece of paper into your vindictive sea. Seeing that Xiao Yang was fully prepared, the immortal Minkyu said. Are you introducing a sea of vindictive energy? Xiao Yang heard the words and immediately followed suit. Bang bang bang. He introduced the mysterious piece of paper that Kang Yu had given him into his vindictive sea, but just when Xiao Yang used his soul power to touch the mysterious piece of paper, a dazzling silver light burst out from the mysterious piece of paper. Be careful, this is a good thing, said the undead Minkyu. Go in. Xiao Yang didn't care so much, wrapped the mysterious piece of paper with his soul power and sent it directly to his own Do Chi Si. Following Xiao Yang's delivery like this, the flame beast that had been sleeping in Xiao Yang's body suddenly felt that his status was being provoked, and the beast opened its pupils and stared vigilantly at the mysterious piece of paper emitting a silver light. On the mysterious piece of paper, strange and powerful mysterious runes appeared, which made the flame beast extremely uneasy. Don't worry, this guy won't compete with you. Xiao Yang couldn't help saying when he saw the flame beast like this. Hoo ho ho. That's the case. The flaming beast entrenched in Xiao Yang's Do Chi Si roared at the mysterious piece of paper, as if feeling uneasy. Hey, there seems to be something in your Do Chi Si. Immortal Minkyu looked at Xiao Yang's forehead and said immediately. Not sure what it is. My current Do Chi and domestic Do Chi are all gone. Some are just a fiery beast. Xiao Yang opened his eyes and said to the undead ghost. What? Boy, are you talking about it again? Originally, the undead Minkyu was quite calm, but now Xiao Yang said that the battle chi in his body had condensed into a fierce beast of flame, and he was overjoyed at that time. What's the situation? Faced with the joy of the undead Minkyu, Xiao Yang was at a loss. Boy, I don't know what kind of luck you have. The cultivation of a strong Do Di is known to compress the sea of Do Chi in the body. And the Do Chi Si, before you were promoted to Do Emperor, has been expanded countless times, so if you want to compress Do Chi Si to advance, it's easier said than done. But your kid is different. I don't know if it's the holy flame or something else. Your Do Chi is already slowly compressing in the sea. Maybe this speed is not fast in your opinion, but in the eyes of others, it is a dream. Do Nui's posture is also varied, but the only thing that is the same is that in the end, they will only be about the size of a human. But you look at the fiery beast in your body. If it is not what I expected, it may already be comparable to the Do Chi Si of some 7-star Do Emperor perfection level powerhouses. The benefits of this, you will naturally know when you break through Do Xian in the future. Undead Minkyu said. Hihi, I never thought that it was a blessing in disguise at the beginning. Thinking of this flaming beast, Xiao Yang felt a little fortunate. Okay, don't be too happy, seal me first and then talk about it. The next moment, the immortal Minkyu interrupted Xiao Yang. Come on. Xiao Yang heard the words and said in a deep voice, and then the immortal sparrow turned into a dazzling fiery red energy, pouring into Xiao Yang's Do Chi Haina mysterious piece of paper. Boom boom boom. Just as the power of the immortal ghost bird poured into Xiao Yang's body, Xiao Yang only felt a burst of pain, as if his heart was torn apart, extremely painful. Boy, hold on. Undead Minkyu also knew that his strength was too great. Even if he had a mysterious piece of paper, if Xiao Yang couldn't hold on, he would explode and die. Don't worry. Xiao Yang said stubbornly. I have survived the hell-like situation when I devoured Ihua, and I am still afraid of this pain. Fire. The next moment, Xiao Yang's mouth was blooded because of Xiao Yang's clenching of his teeth, but Xiao Yang ignored it and called out directly. Following Xiao Yang's voice, his whole body was enveloped in flames. Under the envelope of the flames, the pain increased instead of decreasing. Ah, ah, ah. Screams of misery continued from Xiao Yang's mouth. However, no matter how miserable the screams were, Xiao Yang did not take a step back. He's really a tough boy. It seems that this kid has infinite achievements in the future, and it's not in vain for me to follow you. After the immortal Mingqiu finished speaking, it poured directly into the mysterious piece of paper in the Sea of Du Qi. The screams continued for about 5 minutes, and then Xiao Yang returned to normal, sitting on the ground, gasping for breath. Finally, it's a success. Xiao Yang was completely exhausted at this time, lying on the ground and said, Xiao Yang. Mu Yingying just heard the call and came to see if something happened to Xiao Yang, but she saw Xiao Yang lying directly on the ground. Success. Xiao Yang smiled directly at Mu Yingying. It's good if it's successful. However, when Mu Yingying came to Xiao Yang's side, an invisible vortex directly sucked the two of them in, and as the vortex was sucked in, Mu Yingying felt a familiar feeling. Breath. That is the breath of my brother. And with the disappearance of Xiao Yang and Mu Yingying, the figure of a mysterious royal family slowly appeared on the ground where they were originally. Asshole. It's hard to find the location of another holy flame from Yang Kai's mouth, but it's still a step too late. It wasn't the old man who was currently guarding the 7th floor of the underground palace. After the old man finished speaking, he jumped up and walked towards the underground palace. And Mu Yingying and Xiao Yang, at the last critical moment, were rescued by the distant Yang Kai, and it seemed that they also entered the underground palace. This video will end here.